if you want to know more about the material I have on the Grappler's Guide, just wait till the end of this video. I'm going to go through some narrated rolling. Yeah, so let's get started with the narrated rolling, but feel free to have a look afterwards at what I've got to say about the Grappler's Guide. Alright, I'm going to continue the narrated roll from where we left off last time. And just for those who are members of the Grappler's Guide, I'm going to continue this all the way through and get this whole narrated roll down. So for the next 13 minutes of video, I will break down. I'll probably cut this to about a 10-minute thing for YouTube for some of the people to have a look at that. But if you want to catch the whole thing, check that out on the Grappler's Guide. As I said, I've got a code. If you use the code Lachlan, you'll save 30%, and that will also get you access to the whole site, and it helps me out as well. You get access to the whole site. It has heaps of really good instructionals. Myself, Craig, guys like Mikey Musumeci, Michelle Nicolini's on it. There's some really good coaches and really good material, so check out the Grappler's Guide. I'll put the link below this. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so this was, I think, where we left off, where I managed to get on the previous video. So if you haven't checked that, make sure you check that on the YouTube channel. I managed to get the Berimbolo from the back step from Shin to Shin. Alright, so next person to come out, this is Per. Okay, so Per has stepped across. I managed to go Shin to Shin. Alright, and I came up into a single leg off this one. So let's have a look at how this worked. So usually I'm wanting my left shin to connect to Per's right leg, but he steps across. So he's now connected my right shin to right shin. So this is not exactly what I want for my single leg X entry against a standing opponent. But I haven't managed to grab around the leg. Okay, so I usually, when I get the chance here, I can start to change my hooks and get my left foot in. Let's just have a look at my hand. Usually I don't want to get knocked backwards when I do that. Okay, so my right shin is in. Let's just see what I do with my hands. Yes, I've posted my right hand on the mat. So it's an important detail, because you don't want to go flat on your back when you change your legs. I post on the mat. So now he can't drive me back, so I can scoot my hips away a little bit and get my left shin in. Okay, so now my left shin's in. I've actually got shin to shin, which is what I wanted. Now I'm coming forward here. I'm obviously trying to off-balance Per to try to get this entry to single X. So here I'm starting to get a good angle. So I should be able to start to fall back and lift. Okay, so you can see I rock back, starting to elevate the foot. I want to, like, if I can, you can see it's almost like it's not a sweep, but by knocking his weight forward, like, I want to get Per to post his hands on the mat. He didn't though, he posted his leg. So, but just notice it's really important that off balance. So I pull him, like I rock to my back, lift up with the shin to shin, obviously pulling tight with my left arm on the knee, and you'll see either he's going to step forward with his leg, or he steps forward with his leg, and I grab his leg as he does that. Okay, so that lets me grab the leg, and this puts me in a similar situation before, where if I do manage to get straight to single X, I already have that leg ready to knock him back straight away for the sweep. So I'm preparing myself for good positioning. But this time he put his hands on the ground, which makes it harder for me to elevate. So once I got his leg, I'm still trying to elevate. He puts his hand down as a post. That makes that difficult. And he's really trying to cut that knee across. Now, in this scenario, see how this right hand is on the ground. So there's nothing stopping me coming up for a single leg. If Per gets an underhook, that means I can't go single leg. I'm pretty much forced to go towards the single X position. But because the hand was on the ground, there's no underhook here stopping me getting up. So when I get up on my right hand, and that lets me come up for the single leg, and let's see, run the pipe finish, is able to finish that single leg. Alright, next one. Alright, so here I have Marcus again. So Marcus is the guy that in the previous video was doing a lot of really good backstepping. So let's see, I think this time actually I catch a hook as he goes to backstep, which is actually my preferred. Like sometimes you start to read people's patterns and you can react to them a little earlier. So if you watch, I'm going to get my shin to shin in a moment. He obviously ran away from my leg grip. I've gone arm drag. That's given me the single leg. He started to backstep. Okay, sorry, I don't use this from the shin to shin. It's just from the single leg grip. Marcus has gone to backstep. This is what I want actually. I want this hook to catch the backstepping leg. So now you can see Marcus's right hand's engaged, left hand is engaged. Both feet are caught. There's nothing, as he moves backwards now, there's nothing that's going to keep his balance. Okay, he managed to post his hand out, but I got up before, like, you know, I'm up, I'm in better position here. I should finish this takedown, hopefully. Yes, good. So if you watch that again, so it's before, you can do the same thing from the shin to shin as well, obviously. In fact, it's easier to stop them stepping out if you catch it from the single, like the seated single leg position. So I go arm drag, I caught the leg. Obviously if I could, I'd stand up. The back step will stop the stand up. The back step's a very good counter to the stand up. But if I can hook that leg as he goes to do it, so you can see Marcus is preparing to back step. There comes my hook. We roll up, and with enough momentum I came up on top before he could really base well enough to stay on top. Alright, who's this? Dan Ha. Alright, so Dan's gone quite low at the legs, which has given me a chance at the arm drag into a double leg. This is one of my favorite attacks whenever you get the chance to do it. So we'll go back to that. You just watch, like, you know, different people will attack you different ways from the start, and you've got to have an answer to each particular style. So you'll see Dan is very low. You watch, cleared the, okay, he's gone low and he's sort of circled around. So here there's a perfect opportunity to arm drag. If I can take my right arm through, that will set up the arm drag, which went for it, but he's circled well enough to get away from that. But I'm back on it again. So back to that same arm, pulling across. Almost always, this is the right reaction from Dan. He's stood up on his right leg, which stops the arm drag. Yeah, so I can't go to his back easily, but I'll usually switch to a single leg when that happens, or which could be a double leg. Yeah, so now I've grabbed that same leg, and this one's come across. Have a look at my left leg here. That left leg is in position to drive. Without that, if I was still seated, I would not win this battle. So I drive off that left leg to get up on top. So just have a look. You've really got to, when you do your drag, you've got to be really quick. Watch this leg starting to come back. Sorry, computer's being slow. Boom. Okay, now that's ready to drive. It stops me getting pushed back, and I'm able to come up for the. So arm drag into single or double leg is a very common reaction. I think it's less common to actually just get a straight out arm drag. Usually you got to follow up with something. Alright, so Zach has put his knee, so I've gone shin to shin, single leg X here. Those are pretty standard entry to single X. He stood up. I'm reaching for this far leg, because if I can catch it, exactly. So whenever you can get two legs, that's the best scenario in single X. So you can see I've grabbed the knee first, but I really want the ankle, because when I grab the knee, he can step his foot back. It's just out of reach at the moment, so I've grabbed what I can here. Zach is trying to peel my leg off. I've got my knee pinched tight, so that keeps me in good position. And you can potentially, because of where my foot is, I can kick him forward. I like to try and knock his base forward as well, which will often give me more access to that leg. Alright, so he's trying to peel this top leg off, which is the right thing to do. So this is something that I use. I didn't have to use it very much, but if you watch, when he peels my leg off, I'll actually put my foot on the ground sometimes, and I'll just pull it there. Okay, just here. So I tried to do what I'm about to talk about, which it didn't actually work, but often it will. He's bothering me with his hands. He's blocking my leg with this hand, right? So every time I try and put this foot back on the hip, Zach is going to keep blocking my leg, which is going to make it a real problem to get good positioning for the single X sweep. By stepping the foot on the ground, it actually lets me like elevate my hips and kick with my right leg. So I kind of like really off balance him forward and make him post his hands on the mat in front of me. So that's my aim with this. Okay, what happens though, as I try to do that, he's like leant so far back and kept his weight so far back that I couldn't bring him forward, but I could just use my kind of shin to push forwards, like back the other way, so towards the camera, but a little bit to the right of the screen. If I pushed in that direction, so straight back with my leg essentially, using my knee, that's going to knock him off balance backwards. So if we watch that, now I change and push. So I grabbed his leg, stopped him from being able to post. So watch that once more. I step, I tried to knock him forward, I felt that he was too far back, and I was able to knock him straight back. Alright, who is next? Lewis. Alright. So Lewis is hand fighting, he's trying to get grips on my arms. So again, different strategy. And a lot of people will try and pick the feet up. I didn't really have to do it that time, but often if they do actually like tilt you back by picking your feet up, you have to kind of kick up and back. I think there'll be another thing in this where I get to show that, but where you kind of kick out and kind of free yourself. You'll see Marcelo Garcia uses that same strategy a lot as well. Blocking the shoulders stopped him from lifting me. Alright, have a look at this one. So I go 2-on-1. See this? Elbow and wrist. I want to pull Lewis across my body. So I've had to kind of like, see how I'm like falling back with this? I'm really trying to like drag Lewis's weight past me towards the camera side of my body here. If I can get him to start running that way, that starts to make this right leg more accessible to me. So I've gone shin to shin and tried to lift. He's pulled out, but I've managed to get up with that. So we watch that again. I'm lifting with this shin to shin. He kicks off that, but in doing so, he doesn't have like the best balance here because of how much I've pulled him forward. So I'm actually able to chase him up, and essentially, as he tries to balance here, I get both legs, or the far leg in particular, and I'm able to finish the takedown. So obviously, if you're going to play shin to shin, you want to have good single legs and follow-up options as well. Yeah, which is, to be honest, I probably cover that a little more in my half guard series, but I do have some of that in the single leg, in the shin to shin series. Sorry, a lot of that in the shin to shin series as well. Alright. So there's definitely like a bit of a continuum between half guard shin to shin and like as in shin to shin and coming up for the single leg and playing half guard, and then shin to shin and leading towards X guard and single leg X guard. So they kind of, it's a bridging position often between those two types of games to play. This time I'm rolling with Hugh. Hugh he's one of our younger students. He's a bit older now. He's probably about 16 in this video. He's doing really well. He's going to be a superstar in the future, so look out for Hugh. Alright, so he steps in, I get my shin to shin and a good grip around the knee. Notice that, the roll back, yeah? So I roll back to try to... So make sure you're doing this, guys. You're not going to get shin to shin and from here just like lift them up. These legs way too heavy for that. I have to roll back, try and get Hugh's weight forward, hopefully even posting his hands on the mat. Then I can actually, like, when his hands are on the mat and his weight is forward, I can actually start to lift with this butterfly hook. Alright, so I'm trying to turn Hugh's foot out, and very common, he gets the person's going to get the underhook, which is a problem. And alright, so here we go to something a little bit different to enter. And it's a bit of a scrambly finish actually. Alright, so let me just go through this. So before I've been trying to turn out, but see here, Hugh he's like kicked his leg straight. Now, in this scenario, yeah, I don't have like the right leverage to pull the foot out towards the camera to like shoot under for single leg. So I'm going to change my left hook closer to the knee. So it's like I've got almost like a butterfly guard. So I'm lifting up like it's butterfly guard. Usually in this scenario, my right leg's still in. So I've got shin like a, this one's sort of like a butterfly guard as well. Usually from here, if you just kick up to the roof, they'll kind of have to step this leg forward and you just kick through and you're in single X. But Hugh really tries to like back step off this, and I think I end up with my left hand, I grab the ankle. So as he back steps, I kind of get to chase him up and follow him down for a sweep. So let's see. Yes, I grab the ankle. So here I'm actually trying to pull him through into single leg X, and I think he really tries to back step off this, and I follow him up. I think my right hand might even grab the near shin as I do that. Let's see. Oh no, I grab the near knee. So you see I've still got that ankle, and I've come forward. Again, this theme of like chasing them down when they start to flick off is really good, and it is quite, you have to be quite proactive about that to be effective with it. So I might leave that there for our YouTube series. We'll continue on for the Grappler's Guide stuff, so we'll keep at it. We've got another 9 minutes 55 seconds to go. So here, alright, so I have on the Grappler's Guide, I've got a bunch of my material on there. Essentially I've put my whole butterfly X guard, single X guard, shin to shin game on the Grappler's Guide. So essentially it's basically a whole guard game that you could potentially use. So there's a complete guard system. You don't necessarily need to use any other types of guard. You could just play these techniques that I use to have a very successful guard. My other guard I do play is my half guard. But Grappler's Guide have been really good. I'm actually using, I got it for my wife Livia, who's a black belt. I got it for her for Christmas. So I'm using her account at the moment just to show you exactly what my material is on there. Because not just me, there's heaps of other really good experts, as well as Jason Scully himself, who have made put some really good material up on there. So I've got my butterfly, single X and X guard material here. The membership for Grappler's Guide is $297, but you can save 30% if you use the code Lachlan. And that will also help me out a lot as well. So if you can do that, that would be awesome. But just have a look at how much just of my content you got on there, and you'll get an idea of whether you think it's worthwhile getting this, which I really think it is. So first of all, the first chapter under my name here, under Lachlan Giles, we've got intro and overview. You can see I've got a few clips just sort of talking about what the positions I'm going to be covering are, and some general concepts that I think are important for this type of guard that we're going to be playing. The second part is on distance butterfly guard. So this second part, and you'll see how many clips I've actually got here, which kind of, you'll get to see how in depth it actually is just from looking at this. So this is essentially like, how do you deal with someone before they've engaged your butterfly guard fully? So they're kneeling, but they're at distance. So how do I actually close the gap on them and make sure I win the grips on my terms, and what can we do from there? So there's things like arm drags and a whole bunch of other attacks that we need to look out for, and also things that your opponent might be trying to do to try to pass you, and how you can defend them. Okay, so you can see there's quite a bit on there in that section. Then after distance butterfly, we go to close butterfly. So this is essentially once I have closed the gap. So once I've got an underhook or an overhook, or perhaps Tim's got an underhook or overhook, but once we're actually like in contact, there's a whole bunch of other scenarios that can occur. Attacks I can do, attacks that he can do, and how I need to counter them. And you see again, I've got a whole bunch of material on that, trying to make sure you got an excellent butterfly sweep, or good at transitioning into positions that can set up sweeps or submissions. After that, we then move on to sitting versus standing. So how do you deal with the opponent who's standing when you haven't got any grips yet? Like, how do we try to close the distance? What am I looking out for? What will they be trying to do? After that, it's shin to shin guard. So that's one of the positions I usually look for when I have a standing opponent, is I usually try to get my shin attached to my opponent's shin. Once I get that shin to shin connection, I can start to set up usually towards single leg X guard, but also coming up for single leg takedowns, and a bunch of options there too. You'll see that in the narrated rolling as well. And I put the full narrated rolling up on the Grappler's Guide too. After that, we have single leg X guard. So now I've actually managed to, usually from the shin to shin, to get underneath our opponent. How can we attack from single leg X guard? What can our opponent do? Also go through some of the leg lock entries, and how we can start trying to attack the legs from there. And lastly, X guard. So this is usually the sort of, we're a bit deeper into our counters now. The person's countering our sweeps really well, and we've had to go towards X guard. which is another excellent sweeping position. I use this a lot. If you watch any of my highlight footage in competition, you'll see this. And I go through a bunch of options from X-Guard as well. So you can see I've got quite a lot of material on there, and that's just me. You've got all these other experts as well. So please get the Grappler's Guide and use the code Lachlan to save 30% and help me out.